And then during a slam dunk competition between the ladies, things take a sudden competitive turn because Zoe decides that she is going to do something a little bit different with her slam dunk. I think we have a clip.
Actually, I think I'm going to forfeit my shot and steal Grant for a few minutes.
Okay.
To a secret spot.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The date card, it said to shoot your shot. Even though it is a group date, like, you got to make yourself known because you don't know how, like, long you have and how many opportunities you'll have to actually get time with him. I like to be competitive.
Okay.
And we like to win.
Okay. Okay.
Wow.
Bold move.
Like, obviously this was producer sanctioned. It was probably producer suggested.
100%.
You're only going to make so many enemies in the house by doing this so prominently in the middle of a group activity that everyone else clearly thought was governed by certain rules, such as when it's your turn, you have to do a slam dunk and not steal Grant and go up to the roof.
Unfortunately, that's a common misconception on this show because Zoe is correct in that there are no rules other than the rules that the producers make for you personally.
Right. And the producers are obsessed with this because now everyone's going to hate Zoe.
Oh, yeah, it's perfect for them.
They need an early season villain. I mean, she's like, this is really going to make me stand out. But all she really seems prepared to say to Grant from what we see is that she hopes she's made her mark and the other women in the house are nice. And I'm like, they're not going to be nice to you anymore.
Yeah, here's the thing. If you're going to steal a moment, you have to use it well. I think she probably would have been better off saying, I'm going to forfeit my shot because I already feel like a winner and just going up and kissing Grant.
Honestly, that probably would have made him feel special and pissed off the women, but less.
Exactly. Exactly. And also, like, it's just less disruptive to the whole production. And you can tell that Grant is very aware of the internal dynamics of the women, as we see later in the episode. And so I think he kind of clams up and gets uncomfortable when people do these moves on him.
But apparently they were gone for a while. So it's also possible that they just didn't show us what a great conversation they have. Like, they come back
he does
smiling.
like Zoe, which is always very helpful when someone does something disruptive. If he already likes you, it's probably going to work out okay for you for now, at least.
So when she returns, Zoe sort of glibly apologizes. It's like, we lost track of time, and the women are shooting eye daggers at her. Hilariously, later, she's like, oh, you guys were upset by that? No wonder you were acting weird. I'm like, you know why they were upset, Zoe. You know why they were acting weird.
Oh, Zoe came into this game ready to play. She does not give a fuck.
Yeah.
There might come a time where there is a line for her and she decides she no longer wants to play this game, but this episode, she's pretty committed.
So the two teams are Grant's Pride, the tall girls, versus the Grant Slam, the shorties. I have to assume that production sorted them this way to create more of a disparity in the score and more acrimony between the groups of players. Team Purple goes up 10-0. That's the tall girls. And then things start to get dirty. And the footage on this is a little hard for me to read. Allie Jo claims that things got physical because of Zoe. She's like, if you're going to push me, I'm going to push right back. I didn't really see that in what they choose to show us. Zoe is definitely playing scrappy. But what we do see is Zoe trying to wrestle the ball away when the opposing team basically surrounds her and grabs her, which is sort of a normal basketball play to kind of like throw your arms around a little and try to get the ball back away. And Allie Jo responds, don't fucking hit me. And I was like, Allie Jo, do you understand what this sport is?
No, and Allie Jo just hates Zoe. And this continues to come across as the episode continues.
And then in retaliation, I guess, for some scrappy play, Allie Jo literally tackles Zoe while she's taking a jump shot. This is so
rough.
Flagrant foul. Like, she should have been sent off the court. But that's not, they love when they injure each other. So obviously that's not going to happen. So this is like fueling the tension with Zoe. And then Grant's Pride ultimately wins 18-2, which is the tall girls, Chloe, Natalie, Zoe, Beverly, and Parisa. It's time for the first night date of the season. The women have decided to confront Zoe. So they are all sitting tensely back in the sofa area. And she makes a comment about how Chloe is having her one-on-one time that she earned. And Allie Jo, as if waiting for a trigger, jumps in.
She was.
She's like, oh, you didn't earn yours. Like you just said that Chloe earned hers. You didn't earn yours. We were all supposed to do a slam dunk, and you took him away for the entire time.
And generally at this point, the other women are on Allie Jo's side because they were all annoyed by what Zoe did. Serafina says to the camera, we all want to talk to her being Zoe, and understand where she was coming from. And she just doesn't think that it was respectful the way that Zoe pulled him in front of the whole group. And Zoe's kind of nonchalantly like, well, who wouldn't take time? Alicia and Allie Jo strongly disagree. And Zoe's line is very much like, we all get one shot. There aren't rules here. I took the time. Oh, well.
Yeah. If you stole him, I wouldn't be mad. That's just how it goes. I only had one opportunity on this date. I took it. And Serafina says it was the wrong place and the wrong time. And Zoe says, when's the right place? Tomorrow when we're at home without him?
I mean, she's not wrong.
I think they're both kind of right in the sense that, like, Serafina is like, well, if you stole him for time when we were all practicing, maybe, and you took him away for 20 minutes, or at the cocktail hour, you hop in and you're like, I want to talk to him now. There are established moments when it's a
little bit more socially acceptable,
when it's less disruptive, and you chose the most sort of ostentatious and disruptive moment to do that. And Zoe is also, has a point here, which is I took the time when the time was presented, and it won't be available to me to take tomorrow. So in the middle of the slam dunk competition, it had to be. Juliana is like, well, would you do it again, knowing that it made us feel disrespected? And Zoe's like, oh, I hadn't heard that you felt disrespected, but I guess that explains how you all behaved the rest of the time.
I like how she acts like this one word makes all the difference. Like, you might have been able to pick up on the fact that they felt.
She knows. I feel like she's doing a bit of a Courtney Robertson play.
Yes, I think so. This feels like she came in ready to play this character. She came in ready to take whatever time was offered to her to play ball with production and to very calmly just brush off the other women's annoyance.
It's a risky move because if you're not the number one favorite of the lead, it can get really messy.
Yeah, eventually you will end up getting sent home like we saw with Tiara on Sean Lowe's season.
Eventually, the other women go and mingle at the bar, and Zoe is alone on the couch while they're, like, openly talking shit about her 5 feet away. Vicky is, like, with Juliana and Allie Jo laughing, like, oh, I could never do something like what Zoe did. I've just never been the type. I just don't think I could do it. And Allie Jo says, well, if that's how you want to move, that's how you want to move. But it's not how I do it. If you're going to push me, I'm not going to put up with it.
They're very concerned about
shove someone.
how someone moves. If they move like that, I'm going to move like this. And I'm going to move the way I move. And you're going to move the way you move. And I'm going to remember how the way you move made me feel.
Juliana's like, I'm just here to make my own move. And I will remember how you made me feel. They do all feel really marinated in, like, discourse about the show. Like, they've taken in years of, like, analysis of, like, why is she doing this? She should just make her own moves. And like, you can remember what she did, but don't take it to the lead. Like, it just feels like they're speaking.
They're all so aware of the structure of the show, of the way that people operate within the bounds of the show, with the kind of characters that they can each be labeled as or funneled into.
Yeah. What people will say about them. Yeah. In Her in the Moment, Zoe says that she thought they might be a little annoyed, but more because they didn't think of it first and they could take notes for next time. She's like, I'm not going to waste time on the sidelines gossiping and holding a grudge for doing what we're here to do. And I'm like, well, yeah, no one wants to gossip with you.
Also, you've no one to hold a grudge against
yet.
But don't worry, you will.
I also wondered if she really, like, is this just her really explicitly choosing to rub them all wrong in order to play this Courtney Robertson role? Or does she kind of not understand? I think she must, because she's smart, that one way that women handle this aspect of the competition is by really rigorously policing the boundaries of okay ways to get time with the lead, and not by just being like, oh, I'll beat the best one at stealing time with the lead. Like, they're all trying to make this process work for them, not just by getting the most time, but by making it really stigmatized and difficult for someone else to grab time away from them. That's an established dynamic on the show.
I think she understands what she's doing, and I think we might see that strategy shift over time. Yeah. But right now, I think that this was very intentional. So after this initial confrontation, Juliana gets time with Grant, and Grant is just so into Juliana. Like, he is giddy. His eyes are wide every time he sees her. They're always giggling together.
And then the music grinds to a halt because the camera has caught a glimpse of a figure in green behind Grant, and it's Zoe.
Oh.
He seems uncomfortable in this moment. I don't think that Juliana is someone that he is happy to have his time with interrupted.
No.
And Juliana is also pissed. And in the moment, she's like, you don't move like that in a group that respects each other. You move in a different way. And maybe she's going to move like that, but Juliana wouldn't move that way. So Juliana stalks back to the other women and tells them what happened. And immediately, Allie Jo is more angry than Juliana. So she's more that girl. Yeah, she's the one who's like, everything that someone else does wrong to another person, I will be the one who is the most offended.
Yeah, I am going to take on this fight. And you're like, oh no, this is not going to go well.
Yeah. She's like, I haven't even gotten time with Grant yet. And if it were me, gloves would be on. Which I guess is boxing instructor for the gloves would come off.
I couldn't stop laughing at this.
She's like, I know that you should really put your gloves on before you punch each other.
Safety for your beautiful hands. They'll need more than oil if I beat the shit out of someone without my gloves on.
As a boxer, she should know that phrase means that you're done with like the safe,
right? And now you're just like going right at it.
Now you're going to bare knuckle brawl.
She wouldn't do that. She's too much of a lady.
No, she's too much of a Rumble fitness instructor. She's like, gloves, yes, glove safety.
Always on.
In the moment, she's like, Zoe's being extremely disrespectful. Everyone is fed up, and it's not going to fly with her.
Like, Allie Jo, not everyone is quite as fed up as you are, and that's going to be a problem.
Allie Jo loses the women with a speed that I don't think I have ever seen before, because they are all impressive. On her side. When she first kind of is part of the confrontation with Zoe, everyone else is nodding. They're like, yeah,
else that was moderately annoyed, but they're like, that doesn't mean we want a multi-week drama out of this. It doesn't mean we want to make like a permanent enemy in the house. We're just a little annoyed, and we support expressing that.
Meanwhile, Grant is getting that time with Zoe, and he's like, you're beautiful, you're smart. I want to see if there's an emotional connection. And I'm like, didn't you have like an hour together this afternoon? What did you talk about? And she says that when she was growing up, she was guarded, and it can be hard for her to open up, but she's learned to be open with people who help her feel safe. And the biggest roadblock is people doing things that don't make me feel safe.
You know, things
that might happen later tonight. But she wants to be wide, wide open. Grant is feeling connected and ready to kick her walls down. But Allie Jo is on her way to ruin this moment because she's getting even more worked up. Juliana and a few of the others are kind of egging her on, like, yeah, you haven't had time yet. And Zoe has had 2 bouts of time today. Like, you should go get your time. Go for it, girl. And she storms upstairs, bursts in, and is like, Grant, can I talk to you? Can I steal you for a minute? And Zoe says, just 2 minutes, and you can have him the rest of the night.
I mean, girl, we know that that's not going to happen.
I'm like, it's not the rest of yours to give away. Like, what do you mean you can have the rest of the night? She still has to share the rest of the night with all of the other women. So why are you acting like generous? Like, you can have the rest of the night after this. That's not your
I think
gift to
Zoe's
give.
trying something. She's like, will I be able to put her off a little bit longer? But no,
Yeah.
Allie Jo stands her ground. She's like, look, you've had all the minutes. And Grant finally is like, okay, I'm being asked to go elsewhere. I will go with Allie Jo. But Zoe just lingers nearby. It's clear that she is not done.
This is, I mean, I want to know what producers are planning with her.
I feel like she either is going to flame out or she's going to switch her strategy after next week, where we see her cry over the way that the other women are speaking about her.
Yeah. I just think that, like, to unrepentantly steal time from other women, and then when someone comes to steal time from you, to be like, 2 more minutes. No, okay, well, I do need to finish my conversation, so I'll be back. Like, it's so obvious that you are playing by different rules than you expect other women to play by. Like, she seems to feel like a certain entitlement.
Yeah, I think I just really find Allie Jo so off-putting that I don't feel as much empathy for her as perhaps I should in this situation.
I don't really feel empathy for Allie Jo. I just feel that Zoe is,
I think she's overplaying her hand
consistent
in this way.
Like, Zoe's being like, oh, well, like, if they want to steal time, that's their right. But then when time is actually stolen from her, she's like, I'll just be in the corner waiting for like 2 minutes and I'm going to be right back. And I'm like, no, that's not how it worked when you stole time from the other women. So she's like, yeah, she's waiting, biding her time while Allie Jo talks to Grant. What kind of vibe did you get from Grant during this conversation?
I was like, Grant hates Allie Jo. That was the vibe I got. Like, he's looking around, like, barely paying attention to what she's saying, nodding, just trying to, like, do the bare minimum. He does not want to be in this conversation, though, which is why Allie Jo being the one to, like, take on the fight with Zoe is just not going to be that effective. Because he does like Zoe.
Yeah, he was sort of lit up and having fun with Zoe. And so it's very stark to see how suddenly exhausted he looks. Yeah, like he's like, Like the way that I react when my 5-year-old is telling me about the rules of some game that he's been explaining for 3 hours already, and they keep changing, and I'm just like, I can't.
Yeah. Okay, sweetie.
He's like, okay, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, got it. Sure. Yeah, no, me too. And he looks like he wants to be asleep in his bed somewhere rather than have this conversation.
Wait, and this is exactly why when Zoe comes back to, like, interrupt again, it is a little obnoxious, but Grant is not mad about it because he doesn't want to be hanging out with Allie Jo. He's like, please, anyone, come on in.
Like, she's just like, I want to coach my kids. I believe in fighting because I'm a boxing coach. And he's like,
He's like, yeah,
oh, Zoe. Yeah, no, of course. We can definitely talk again. Anyway, bye.
But obviously producers wanted this because they could sense that Allie Jo is a ticking time bomb and she's going to explode if Zoe pushes her just a little bit further.
Well, that's the thing. Like, of course, production is guiding Zoe's hand here because it is so clear that Allie Jo is
going to break.
Absolutely primed to give them like, she was clearly cast to be this kind of person. She's like, yes. I will always say I'll always stand up for what I believe in.
Jersey is coming out.
The jersey is coming out. Like, and now they have her right where they want her. They're like, Zoe, you really should go back. You didn't get to finish your conversation. Zoe's like, yeah, I do deserve a little more time to say goodnight. Allie Jo storms back to the group and is like, I'm done with her. Their long friendship tragically ended. And when Zoe comes back in, there's a tense silence. And they are clearly all just waiting for Allie Jo to go off on her. And she does. We have a clip.
What is your problem? I've done nothing to you. I understand you want your time, but guess what, baby girl? So do I, and you've had it so many times. You stepped on all of our toes on the date earlier. You had talked to him before me, then you took him back when I was talking to him. Like, you've talked to him multiple times, so what is your problem with me that you needed to interrupt me? Tell me. Or are you need that much attention, you're that insecure?
Not calling another woman insecure.
This energy is what seems to make the other women like back away from their support of Allie Jo.
Immediately, all of the other women are like, oh, Zoe, you don't have to listen to her. That's a little too much.
Yeah, even Vicky and Juliana, who were actively shit-talking with Allie Jo earlier in the night, suddenly are like, well, I see both sides. Maybe she put it a little harshly.
They're sitting next to Zoe and they're sort of like turned in towards her, like they're trying to slightly shield her with their bodies. Like, Allie Jo, you lost the room faster than I have ever seen anyone lose the room on this show before. And
well, she made it a personal attack when obviously Zoe is just perhaps being selfish, but it's not like a targeted attack against Allie Jo alone.
Yeah. It's like, I've done nothing to you. Well, first of all, she did
literally tackle her,
knocked her over. But no, like putting aside the rough and tumble world of basketball, like Zoe clearly just wants her time. She has nothing specific against Allie Jo that we can see. What's actually the case is that Allie Jo specifically went and got time by stealing him from Zoe, therefore putting herself in the line of attack for Zoe's totally on brand retaliatory reclaiming of her time. She put herself in that firing line by being the one to steal him from Zoe. And like, I don't necessarily, I would not play this the way that Zoe did. I think she's probably, again, as we've said, doing it all very intentionally as like playing into a certain role, but I wouldn't do it. However, it's obviously not personal towards Allie Jo, but Allie Jo's feelings towards Zoe have been personal since very early on in this date. So she's like projecting. She's like, I have a problem with Zoe. So why does Zoe have a problem with me? What did I do to her?
She doesn't, babe.
She's just like this.
Everyone's trying to de-escalate and Allie Jo is like, no. I don't take it back. She doesn't take it back. I don't take it back.
Yeah. Juliana's literally like, I know that was hard for you to hear, Zoe, but I hope you can see that that's not the whole group consensus. Like, we don't stand with this. And Allie Jo is like, yeah, because she did it to me. And everyone's like, okay, but like, give her a moment.
Calm
like,
down,
you just
man.
came at her so hard. And now you're like, what are you going to say, huh? What are you going to say? She's not saying anything. And they're like, chill. Give her space. And in the moment, Zoe says, there's no rule against anything I did. I'm allowed to do that. And Allie Jo could have said no when Zoe went to steal him. But she's just like focused on the rose. She's like, maybe I'll get the rose. They're all just like, the rose will save me from everything that's going on this group date. And Grant comes in and gives the group date rose to someone who is all about the kids, just like the date. So obviously it's Natalie. Of course it has to be Natalie. He is not going to give the rose to someone who caused chaos on the date.
Nor is he going to give it to someone that he hates, like Allie Jo. So
imagine if he gave it to Allie Jo. I want to give it to someone who really kept talking to me, even when it could not have been more clear that I was not enjoying the conversation. That's the kind of perseverance that I want to reward. Zoe seems pretty surprised not to get the rose after being attacked, but like getting the rose when you've been attacked by everyone on the date is actually a hard play because it means that he is taking your side against all the other women he's dating. So it's a rare path to also get all the roses while everyone hates you.
That's why there's only one Courtney Robertson, you know?
Yeah, that's hard to replicate.